Welcome to Raising the Bar podcast,
sponsored by the Ashmore Law Firm.
We're your hosts and siblings,
Gary Ashmore
and Lori Ashmore Peters.
Subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
Hi there. Welcome to our episode of Raising the Bar podcast with co-host Lori Ashmore Peters and my brother,
Gary Ashmore.
And we are so excited to have Jim Henry with us. When we first found out about Jim, he is, I guess, owner, godfather of, Texas Olive Ranch.
Yes, Texas Olive Ranch.
Yes. And, you know, as soon as we found out about that, especially for Gary and I, because we are Lebanese, right. Olive oil are a staple in our house and have been since birth. All of our cooking is done with olive oil, and we have olives morning, noon, and night. So when we first found out about you, we were so excited, and we were like, we have to get him on our podcast. So welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and it makes it a lot easier to tell the story with people that know what olive oil is,
right,
in the historical benefits and the history of olive oil. So it makes my job easier.
Good.
Very good. And I attribute that, you know, as Lebanese, we have very, very long life.
Yes.
And I tell my kids, I am so sorry, but they're stuck with me for a very long time.
That's right.
And we attribute it all to olive oil.
Well, I think the Mediterranean diet, which has been studied for centuries or in some form, but when we first started doing this, we had Dr. Walter Willett from the Harvard School of Health, and he came to Texas to tell people about olive oil. And he was a very cool guy, and he had kind of long hair and had a big mustache, and he was in charge of the Mediterranean diet for Americans, and it told about olive oil and the longevity and the advantages, and we can get to that in a minute, but most people in Texas and in most parts of the United States have no clue, which made it very difficult to sell olive oil. And but Dr. Willett was so cool. And then the best part of the story is that after the seminar and the speeches, we were at the hotel bar and he was shooting shots of tequila. So I'm assuming somewhere in that pyramid,
right,
tequila was good for you also.
Right, as part of that diet.
We'll
yes,
have to
part of the
remember
diet.
that.
But so it's olive oil is good for you, and it has a lot of health benefits. So it's very interesting. But part of the issues that I have had to deal with, and I've been doing this for 30 years in Texas, is that the first time we had olive oil, we had probably 10,000 bottles from our first harvest. Wow. And, you know, it was great, but we couldn't give it away. Nobody would buy it because, once again, Texans and most people in America grew up with Crisco.
Yes,
we
did.
In the big can.
In the big
yes,
can.
in the big blue can. And so,
spooned it out.
You know, the only pockets of expertise in olive oil were the East Coast and West Coast, the immigrants on the East Coast and the olive farmers on the West Coast. And so the rest of America didn't understand the benefits of olive oil, why a bottle should be $14.99 when you could buy Petroli or other, let's don't talk brands. When you could buy other brands.
Vegetable oil, whatever.
For $3.99, they were calling it olive oil. So it was very difficult for us to sell the oil. And because just of the way we all grew up. And so, you know, I planted all these trees and got this olive oil, and I forgot how to figure out how to sell it.
Sell it, right.
And so that was the next issue. But
hold on. So growing up, you're right. It wasn't mainstay in your local grocery stores.
No.
Mom had to go to specialty stores to find this olive oil back then to buy so that she could cook with it. And we used it staple in our salads. And like Lori said, it was just part of our our diet from birth.
Yes.
So okay,
But not
interesting.
not in the rest of America. So
Right.
it was like, okay, so you did all this, but you forgot to figure out how to sell it, which is a good lesson for people. You can have the best product if you make belts or whatever you
Right.
do, but if you haven't thought ahead how to sell them, then there is a problem.
So
go
how,
ahead.
why, how do you
how'd
get
you get into
the
this?
olive?
Right.
Why,
How'd you
how
get
do
into
think,
this?
Hey,
Born
wait,
and
I'm
raised?
in Texas.
No,
Right. I mean, you
I grew up in Fort Worth.
okay?
And that's Fort Worth, Texas, in
Right.
case you don't know. But and I worked for an international company, so I traveled all over the world, spent a lot of time in the Mediterranean, Spain, Italy, all those countries, and southern Spain looks just like southern Texas.
Okay, wait. Are you selling widgets? What are
no,
we doing?
I was a buyer for Pier 1 Imports.
Oh, Pier 1. Okay,
I was
got
an
it.
Okay.
international buyer, so
Okay,
I'd go
got it.
everywhere.
Right.
And I got to looking at the trees and the land and the heat and the sun and so I inquired about planting olives in Texas and was told you can't do that. And I'm still told that today.
Challenge accepted.
Yes,
What you
but
did.
and that was part of it. But so that's how I got interested in olives.
Okay.
And it was a hobby, and then one day, we had several hundred trees, and were full of olives, and it became a business. And
Okay, so I'm going to ask. Maybe it's a dumb question or not. Are olives a fruit or a vegetable?
fruit,
It's a fruit.
yes,
Okay, but as Lori alluded to earlier, you can't just pick it off the tree and pop it in your mouth.
no, and so
Have you ever seen an olive tree?
I don't think I know.
You've never,
Okay,
because
no.
we were talking before,
it a big
and
tree
when we
or
were
is
in
it a bush?
Lebanon, no, it's a tree.
it can be either or. But
okay.
in Lebanon, they're trees.
Okay.
And most of them are old and gnarly, and they have olives on them. And there's now a new high-tech way to plant olive trees, which is in a hedgerow, but they can be bushes. So, but back to
okay.
Picking an olive off a tree, a ripe olive. And let me answer this question first: is that people go, well, are there black olives and green olives? And there's no such thing as a black olive; it's a ripe green olive. That's
Get
turned
out.
that's
Oh.
turned black.
No way.
Yes. So
Mind blown.
Poof.
Gary-
Holy moly.
yes.
Gary's
Seriously.
never going to eat another black olive again.
So
Wait, hold on.
and
So it's like a grape and a raisin.
yes, exactly. It's the same thing.
Oh my God.
So,
I'm having an attack here. Holy moly.
but when you pick an olive off a tree, it's very bitter, and
Okay.
that's the biggest joke in people's olive orchards. And I guess you're.
It was.
Yes, she had to go through that. But people come down and they go, "Hey, can you eat those?" You go, "No," and you invariably they'll pick one and take a bite,
Right.
And it's so bitter that it's you can't eat them. So.
Okay.
To eat olives, you have to leach out the bitterness. There's a process, and you can use salt or other ingredients to leach out the bitterness, and then you have table olives. So
Okay.
they have to be soaked or aged, and then the black olives is a whole nother story. So
Okay.
So
Wow.
there are like so many different olives when you go to Whole Foods or Central Market. Are there like olive trees? Like, or is there a Kalamata olive tree?
yes.
Okay.
There's different varietals, which Kalamata is native to Greece.
Right.
There's Piqual, which is a bigger olive. There's allegedly 1,000 varieties of olives.
Okay.
So the ones at the stores, there's probably 20 different varieties, and they because they're soaked in or they're in olive oil to keep them the moisture. To me, they all taste the same. They don't
Okay.
taste any different.
Okay.
And there is one olive on the market, and I can't mention the name, but there is an olive on the market that is a light, almost a fluorescent green, and
Okay.
it's been dyed. And so,
Oh my gosh.
and I'm sure it's dyed with appropriate dye.
Right. Of course.
I'm thinking, and so there's all kinds of marketing things.
Oh my
and,
God, you are I'm never gonna go shop for olives the same way again.
No, not at all. Correct.
This is great. Okay.
So there's trees that have bigger olives
Yes,
and
yes.
littler olives.
Yes,
and
yes.
Okay, and is that just a function because somebody took them in? I'm going to use the word splice. What's it called when you take a
Grafted.
fruit, grafted?
Yeah.
So because people just grafted different varieties to make a different variety.
No, I think that, and I can't really answer that scientifically.
Okay.
But in general, different parts of the world have different kinds of olive trees. And so I've always thought that Texas, somewhere out there, there was this mysterious olive tree that would do better than all of the other trees.
Okay.
And a very smart person told me, he said, Jim, the Mediterranean basin's been trading for 3,000 years. And if there was a better tree, it would already be somewhere.
Right.
And
okay.
I'm going, well, shut that down. So I got to work with what I can get, And so, but the varietals have different kinds of olives. There are different shapes of olives.
Okay.
There's football shape, which is Kalamata. There's big round ones, which is Picual. Sevillano is a huge olive, about that big. And some are great for table. Some are great for oil.
Okay.
And some are higher in oil content than others. So it depends on what you're going to do with the olive, is how you plant your orchards or whatever you're going to do, whatever your objectives might be.
Right.
So for your olive oil,
Wait, hold on before you go there, because we're back to, you're still describing olives. So firm olive versus a mushy olive. What's the difference there?
oh my God, he's gonna blow your mind
It's
again.
even more ripe. I don't know.
Well, if you, the firmer olive that you buy at the store in the bins is going to be greener.
Okay.
And then as in an olive I'll tell you the story in just a sec, and then the mushier ones are usually the black ones.
Okay.
That's usually because they're on an olive tree. The way, let's just say you have a tree in your orchard and the top of the tree ripens before the rest of the tree because of the sun.
Okay.
So the top of the tree, the olives start to turn purplish, and then the ones in the middle start to turn lemonish, and then the bottom stay green. So ultimately, the top ones ripen before the bottom ones because of the sun.
Okay.
And so a lot of times when it's not economically feasible to pick and then go back and pick another time and then go back and pick another time. So usually you pick them all and then separate them or mix them up.
Okay. Okay. Right.
But the mushy ones are usually the riper ones.
Riper ones. Okay. And they get mushy. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So when you do harvest them, I mean, do you have like a truck that goes and shakes them, or is it people actually picking, or how do you harvest?
The way we do it is we use our orchard is, and I have pictures on our webpage, but we do a hedgerow, and we use a Spanish tree called Arbequina. And it's a very small round olive that's high in oil content. So there's these rows of trees, and we have a machine that goes over the top of the tree, and it has beater bars, and so it beats the tree allegedly gently, but it beats it where all the olives fall off and they get augered up, and then they go to the next row and fall in bins or a truck.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And so it's all, and once again, it's economics, because you can't, the traditional way, which I was just in Puglia, southern Italy, and they put big tarps out or big nets, and they use these rakes, and they rake them off, and they fall on the ground, they pick them up and put them in baskets or bins, and they probably do that in Lebanon also. So that's not cost effective for a large orchard. So we use mechanical harvesters, and it's a cool process. It's kind of fun to watch it, and you got a big thing you can drive, and
Right.
I let everybody drive it. Little kids come and they drive it, and it's a lot of fun.
Ooh,
So,
field trip.
Okay. Field trip.
Yeah, field
Okay.
trip.
So tell us again where it is and how big your orchard
Orchard
is.
is.
Our orchard is 40 miles from the Rio Grande by Eagle Pass, Texas.
Okay.
It's about 70 miles north of Laredo, in the middle of nowhere. And the orchard is on 67 acres, and it has 40,000 olive trees. And that
Wow.
might sound like a lot, but it's not. And so
Okay.
it's a scale of economics, and it costs me more to harvest and produce a gallon of oil by a lot that I can buy it in Spain a whole lot cheaper.
Ah, there we
So
go. Okay.
It's economics,
Yep.
all about economics.
Wow. Okay. So will a tree produce 1,000 olives a season or 10,000 olives a season? Or is it measured that way?
No, it's measured by weight, and an acre of high density olives will produce about 3 to 4 tons, and there's 670 trees in an acre.
Okay.
So you get about it's 80 pounds off of a tree. It's not even quite that much.
Okay.
And there's probably 1,200 olives in. No, there's more than that. It's 2,400 olives in a gallon to make a gallon.
Wow.
Okay.
So
got it.
it's kind of interesting, and different varieties have different oil content, and it's if it rains, you have more water in the olive oil, or if it's it's
Okay,
a
okay.
science thing.
It's a
It gets
scientific thing.
complicated.
Got
but
it.
Yes, but it's a great question though.
Okay.
Yes. So our ranch is there, and we our first harvest was in 2003.
2003. Okay.
I'm sorry, that's 2005.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool to have a huge harvest. And the problem with growing olives in Texas is there's no infrastructure. There's no picking crew that you can call. There's no
Right.
pruning crew. There's no mills. So we had to buy a press, and it's everything's $250,000. A press, a harvester, tractors. It adds up. So there's no infrastructure. So we had to do it all ourselves. But the first time we harvested, it was it was a joyful event for us,
Of course.
and it was very cool. The Commissioner of Agriculture at the time came, and he flew his Texas airplane down there, and he was very nice. It's Todd Staples, and Todd was a great ag commissioner, and he was there. And I have a quick side story that I think is interesting, and Todd was up in the tractor and doing stuff, and the San Antonio newspaper was there, and a bunch of other people, and there's 1,000 people that came to see us, and so. This is a side story, but it's kind of so. This writer or TV person asked Todd. He said, "What are we doing about water in Texas?" And Todd goes, "We've been fighting over water since 1840 with Winchesters. Now we just do it in court, but there's plenty of water in Texas." And I just thought I said, "Now that's a politician."
Yeah.
And
exactly
but
right.
he was a great ag commissioner, and as is our current one, Sid Miller. They're both very supportive of the olive industry, and Sid's a wonderful guy, got a great story, but they were very supportive of the industry in Texas.
So how many people thought you were just plumb nuts?
All of them, and I probably still am.
And your family? I mean, did your family think, whoa, olives?
What's he doing?
Well, another story is my son, who is 44, is now basically running the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
And he has a 7-year-old daughter, and as she was being born, I said, "What's her name?" He said, "Olive." And I said, "You mean Olivia?" He went, "Nope, Olive." So my granddaughter's named Olive.
I love it. I love it.
So the whole family's in, to answer your question. And we have a lot of problems. It's not, it's agriculture. It's simple. And, we struggle with production, and we struggle with, it's farming. It's just like any other thing that you make or farm or grow. And, so we import oil from Spain, mostly from Argentina. There's not enough oil in Texas or America to supply the demand. So, and currently there's olive oil from Spain mostly is at an all-time high because of weather. They've had droughts.
Okay. Right. Of course. Yep.
Production's down. It looks like this year will be better, so maybe the price will go down a little bit. But I may make it sound glamorous and fun, but it's really agriculture.
Right.
And the money is not in the farming. The money is
Right.
in marketing,
Yep.
distribution. We have to supplement with imported oil or California oil.
Right.
And I don't want to make light of it, but it's a hard business.
Okay.
So, what's the perfect climate to grow the olives for the olive oil?
Well, the perfect climate is the Mediterranean basin. And so my thought process was, which was kind of flawed, and but the
Trial and error.
yeah. But I'll tell you the flawed part in a minute. But the ocean and the coast and the mountains create a climate that's perfect for olives. And so, the San Joaquin Valley in California on the east side of the Rockies, or the mountain range, it's not actually the Rockies, but that's where you can grow olives because of the weather. It's a climate. And so the perfect in the world, obviously, is the Mediterranean basin. But there's now olive orchards in Chile and Peru. They make some nice oil. Argentina. But they all have oceans and they all have mountains. Well, Texas doesn't have mountains.
Right.
Right.
And so my thought is the wind, the southeast wind off the Gulf of Mexico would keep the orchards cool. And the difference, obviously, the problem we have is the nighttime temperatures don't get low enough.
Okay.
And so the trees, when it gets to be 90-something degrees, trees don't take up moisture because it's too hot. They just hibernate for a night or two. And then at night, when it gets under 80 degrees, they take up water. And so you almost need a desert climate.
Okay.
And if you're going to do it in Texas, I think you have to get out by, Acuna, almost into the high desert. But the problem with that in Texas, there's no water there.
Right.
So, there's problems, but you need that cooling down at nighttime to get the trees to take up nutrients and relax, and then fight the day when the sun comes up and it's 103.
Right.
So, but we just don't have the perfect place.
Okay, so when you decide to do this, do you import trees, or do you get a couple of olives and you eat them and you dry out the olive pit and you put it in the ground?
And planted
and it
67
grows?
acres like
What's
that.
what I used to do with watermelon, and it grew. Isn't that what happens?
But that's how olive trees came to South America on old galleons. They
See.
brought the seeds.
Okay.
And they planted the seeds, and they did that. But we can't wait. That
There
takes
was
too
some
long.
method to that. Okay.
Yeah, so at the missions they had nothing else to do.
Right, that's right.
So they would plant it. So we buy nursery cuttings, and they're
Nursery cuttings. Okay.
yes, and so they're we actually imported originally trees from Italy and Spain, had them air freighted in, and we planted those.
Right. Okay.
And then the Spaniards, who own California Olive Ranch and a company called Agromil Ora, it's a large nursery. So we could
okay.
now buy nursery stock from California, which was a lot better. So we buy nursery stock from them.
Okay.
How long does
cool.
a tree last?
Well, the high density orchards, an olive tree will last forever if you prune it correctly.
Okay.
And so the high density orchards, that method of planting that I described earlier with the machines that go over the top, you have to, the reason you do that is because you get production sooner, you get more olives quicker, thus you have cash flow. But as time goes on, it seems to diminish, and I'm not so sure that the high density is the best way. The semi-high density or the traditional is probably more long-term. But if you take care of a tree, I was just in Italy, and I have a picture. I was in a 2,000 to 3,000 year old tree. They don't even know how old it is.
Wow.
And it's so cool.
Wow.
And it's a big thing, and you can get inside of it, and it's just very cool.
Still produces?
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Still
Okay.
produces.
Okay.
And so, you know, there's people that even sell olive oil and their marketing plan, I guess is the best way. I call it scam. But their marketing plan is our oil is from 1,000-year-old trees, so it tastes better. Well, I don't think it really tastes better. But you know, and olive oil is just like wine. Every country that makes it thinks theirs is the best.
Right.
And there are some great olive oils all over the world, just like there are wines. And we only get whatever they send us or whomever you know.
Right. Is there an expiration date?
Yeah. Unlike wine, olive oil, the fresher the better.
Okay.
And so usually if it's sitting around for over a year or a year and a half, it's probably starting to degrade in its taste profile.
Okay.
And so, yes, when you buy it, don't keep it because you like the bottle.
Right.
Use it.
Use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
That's good to know.
So
Nice.
Gary and I had a debate a while back on expiration dates because I felt they're mere suggestions, and he pitches anything if
It's a
past
hard
that.
line.
Yeah,
That's
it's
correct.
a hard line.
You want me to answer my input or?
Yeah, of
I
course.
love your input.
Well, on olive oil, the closer you get to the best, usually it's a best by date. It's not.
Okay.
It doesn't say don't use after so and so. But in olive oil, the closer you are to that date, the less likely the oil is going to be really good.
Okay. All right.
And
good
so,
to know.
But in other food products, I have a nanny that's worked for me for 20 years, and if it's January 1st, she'll throw it away December 15th. I mean, it's like, she will not. I mean, I'm going, where's all of our
That's where the food go.
That's how Gary is.
and she goes, we can throw it away. And so, so anyway,
That's great.
I just think in olive oil, it's better to use it closer to the harvest date.
Well,
Right,
because you'll
okay.
taste it. You'll obviously taste the difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, so it is kind of a mere suggestion because, you throw away your milk before the expiration date, but you can drink it after the expiration date because you will taste if it's bad.
I don't know.
I just think that to preserve your friendship, that I think it's best that
agree to
it just
disagree.
doesn't matter.
Just
There we
doesn't
go.
matter.
Yeah,
There we
it
go.
probably just doesn't matter.
Okay, so but olives are soaked in olive oil from the same olive, or do you?
Well, most of we're talking about jarred olives or olives that are in the grocery store. When you can olives, usually you put about a half inch of oil on the top to keep the air out.
Right. Okay.
And so that oil is with the olive liquid. And there's no other reason to soak them. I mean, they're soaked in usually a salt base or a lye
just to draw out
Yes.
the bitterness
to
and then
leach
they're
out the
ready
bitterness.
to go.
Yes. The
Okay.
oil has nothing to do with leaching it out. It has
Got
to
it.
do with preservation of the olive.
And then people obviously doctor them up
Yes.
and sell them because some are hot, some are not, some are garlic, some are
Yes.
peppered, whatever.
Yes.
That's just what they're sitting in. Has nothing to do with the actual olive.
No.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, stuffed garlic, olives, or
Right.
anchovy, or are a big business.
Got it. Yeah, of course.
And you have to use a bigger olive.
Yeah. Okay.
So, certain varieties.
Okay, so you have brought us an amazing array of olive oil and then some other items that we'll talk about in a little while. But for all of the different olive oils, how do you? I mean, I guess I'm looking at some that are pecan.
Hey everyone, Ashley Massey, your global real estate advisor and author of Fast Track Agent. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast today. I hope that you're enjoying all of the stories. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell in the DFW area, I would love to have a conversation and see if I might be the right fit. I'm not only licensed in Texas, but I'm also licensed up in Oklahoma, and I have properties happening in Cozumel, Mexico, if there's any investors out there. So if you have questions about what's going on in the market or the DFW area, feel free to reach out.
There's red,
There's
rattlesnake.
red.
Those are actually vinegars, but
Ah,
I know where you're going with your question. So
Right.
what we found is that when we couldn't really sell our oil at the prices we need to sell it at,
Right.
my former bride was a very smart woman, and she had, PhDs and all kinds of things. And she said, well, we'll just build a brand. And I'm going, yeah, okay. And she said, and what we found out was that the taste profile of most people, they understood buying garlic olive oil. I'm going, okay. So we made garlic flavored olive oil, and then we made lemon, and then we made rattlesnake, which is chipotle pepper. And so instead of having 2 or 3 varietals of olive oil, now you had a whole bunch of flavored oils. And then of course, you had to have flavored vinegars. And so
of course.
oil and vinegar.
Yep.
And she was very smart. And so our number 1 selling olive oil is garlic. It's
Wow.
it's at the grocery stores. At high-end specialty stores, it's the regular olive oil.
Right.
So garlic and lemon and the chipotle pepper. And so in order to make your brand more interesting, we sell a lot of flavored oils.
And you diversified because you also do vinegars.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm looking at our salads because our salad dressing is
Oil and
vinegar and
vinegar.
olive oil.
Olive oil and vinegar. Maybe
But I think
some
we're going to
lemon,
have to
maybe some
we're
squeezed
going to have to
garlic
experiment
occasionally.
there.
Well, and I think you'd be amazed how good those vinegars are. And we buy the vinegar from an importer. It's Italian vinegar. And we flavor it as we do the olive oil. We buy the ingredients, all natural garlic oil,
Right.
and
Okay.
flavor it with our olive oil. And the same with the chipotle pepper. The girls have a little formula and they make it, and it's really cool. So
So, okay, so you harvest the olives in Texas September.
September, yeah.
And then when do you get your first product from those olives?
Excuse me. Well, when you harvest oil, it's full of sediment.
Okay.
It has, and we don't want to filter that because, and so you call it racking. So you put it in tanks or barrels or totes, and after about 30 to 45 days, the sediment settles into the bottom of whatever container you're racking it in. And the reason is that in a lot of European stores, you'll see olive oil with sediment in the bottom on the shelf. It doesn't bother them because they know it's organic, it's olive leaves, parts of olives, it's all good for you. But in America, if it's on the shelf, the store manager calls me up and, this stuff is bad. And so you have to be careful that when you bottle, that you don't get that sediment into the bottles.
Okay.
So
Shake it up a little bit. It's okay. It's
yeah,
what
well,
you do,
it's
right?
okay for you all because you know.
We know.
right?
Yeah, but most of the customers just don't understand.
Right.
So we let it rack, and then we take off the oil, pump it off,
Right.
and the bottom there's a little thing of sediment. So
Okay. Interesting. And the olive oil comes from pressed olives.
yes,
It's not the leaves. It's not part of the bark. It's not the tree. You're not pressing anything. You get the olive, you smash it, you put it in a press, and it leaks out olive oil. Kind of like wine, I guess. Grapes, you step on grapes. Do you step on olives?
no, they're too hard. Remember, they're bitter hard.
bitter
and
hard.
You hurt your feet.
It'll
Hurt
hurt.
your feet.
Yeah. So the process is you pick the olives, and they end up in a fruit bin or a
Right.
trailer, and they come up to the press house, and you dump them in a conveyor belt, and it takes them inside the building, and they go through a washing machine thing. It's a big round thing that spins, and it spins the olives and the little gravel, leaves, some of the twigs come out,
Right.
and then they spin around, and then they go out into a conveyor belt that washes them. It sprays water on them,
Okay.
and you have somebody sit there, and if there's a big clump of leaves or sticks or lizards or whatever
Right,
might be in there,
whatever.
you throw them out, and Then they go through another washing device that squirts water on them to make sure there's no debris that shouldn't be there. And then they go up into a crusher and it crushes them. And so there may be a leaf or two, there may be a twig or two that get through,
Right.
but it doesn't affect the taste of the oil.
So pit and all, or
Pit
just,
and all.
Okay, pit and all.
Yeah, and so it goes through the crusher, and the crusher crushes it, and then it goes through a malaxer, and a malaxer is this big. It's kind of like when your mom made cookies. She took the stirred the cookie dough. Well, this stirs the paste, is what it's called, and it stirs and it gets it to a consistency, and what that does, it separates the oil from the wood, the pit, the seeds,
Okay.
whatever's left. And so this malaxer, and so when it gets to a certain consistency, you pump it into a centrifuge. And the centrifuge spins and all the liquid comes off and it goes into two little areas. One is basically water and the other is oil with a little water. And then the paste goes outside in big stacks and it gets augered out. And then it goes through another centrifuge and it separates any water from the oil, and oil comes dripping out this little spout. And it's like, wow, it actually worked. You know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is really cool.
Right.
And in the first time or two, I mean, it makes you want to cry because
Yeah.
you've actually made olive.
Wow.
And you can taste it. You can grab it as
You
it's
can take a
dripping
little,
out.
and we have little cups, and that's
Oh,
the
people
biggest
can
thing
try.
that people like to do is, here, try this. They go,
Right, of course.
and it's real green tasting because it has just been pressed, but it's fun. It's very cool. So the process, it's a big Italian machine that's just, it's outdated now, but we still use it, and it's a very cool machine. And we, I want to go back to something in a second. I don't forget, but we're also buying a smaller press that we can make small batches of oil.
Oh, okay.
And we don't, because the big press, you have to have 4 tons just to turn it on.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and so we want a little one to make, specialty oil and things like that. So, but back to the pit in the olive.
Right?
There are people in the world that claim they can taste the woody part in the olive oil. Some of these,
Okay.
I mean, real eccentric kind of guys. And so there are people that make olive oil that's de-pitted. But
Okay.
it's like $100 a bottle, because you can imagine taking, and there's a machine that will remove the pits. And then, but it's a whole nother process. But there is in the world olive oil that has been made with no pit or seed.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So, hold on before I lose it because I'm forgetting. What was it? So, do you sell olives also, or just olive oil?
No, we just sell olive oil because the trees we have are the Arbequina, which make a very small olive,
Okay.
and they really don't lend themselves to table olives.
Right. Okay. Okay.
But
I got it.
But one of my objectives is to plant trees that we can make our own table olives.
So do some orchards do both? Because I was going to ask you, when it's going through the conveyor belt, do you decide which ones you want to put as table olives and which ones you want to press?
no,
But
it's-
there's not. Okay.
Yeah. There are orchards that just sell table olives,
Right. Okay.
and there are orchards that do both, but not very many.
Okay. And it's only after they've been sitting in olive oil that you can really pop them in your mouth and the pit falls right out, because a pit's not going to fall right out of a green olive from a tree, is it?
No,
Right.
no.
It's stuck.
To get a table olive, you don't have to put them in olive oil. So
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
They can, you just extract the bitterness.
Yeah, got it.
With
And you sell
salt
them.
or lye, and what you do is you put a little olive oil in it to preserve
That's
the
it.
freshness.
Okay, right. That's
Yeah,
right.
but
You
it
said
doesn't
that.
have anything to do with extracting the bitterness.
Got it.
And
Okay.
so, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, as you mentioned, olives are a big deal. I mean, every restaurant in Europe, usually you get a little bowl of olives. And
That's right.
It's there. It's fun. So
It's there.
Okay. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you also brought for us, I guess you're creating or have created a skincare product line?
Yes. It's made with olive oil and other things that are good for you. It's all natural. It's small batch. I have 2 mad scientists that work for me, and we actually make it in a warehouse. And so one of them is a licensed pharmacist, and one's a chemist they're very cool guys, Jack and Bill. And so, but they make the stuff. We've got, I get bored easily, so I decided we needed a line of skincare.
That's
So
great.
that's it right
That's
there.
So
it.
what's the name
Beautiful.
of the skincare
It's still
line?
Texas Olive Ranch.
Okay.
So,
Texas olive.
All right.
and
Fantastic.
and so we we're trying to do things that we sell olive wood from Tunisia, like olive salad bowls and utensils
Oh yeah.
that are olive wood. It just makes our presentation look better,
Yeah,
I
Of
think.
course.
And the skincare, there's a huge line in soaps and
Right.
tea. Olive leaf tea is a big deal.
Okay.
So
I mean,
That's
back in
cool.
2005, no one knew what olive oil was, but now,
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
with today's age and health and all of that, it's a hot commodity.
yes, I mean it really is, and you're exactly right. You got that date right. I don't know if you're looking at my notes or what, but it took about it started in about 2005 and 4 or 5, and that's when we couldn't sell oil. And come to find out, it's just people just didn't understand it, and so we had to create that brand, which took a long time. But it was just it's a lesson in marketing, is that you can have the best product, but if you haven't thought about how you're going to sell it, you got a problem.
Right.
And fortunately, it worked out for us. But and we're very proud of our line now, and we try to keep it fresh and add new things to it. And so
That is great.
That's
That is
where we
great.
So
Okay.
is your granddaughter Olive a part of your company now?
well, as a
I
matter of
love that name. I mean, that
know,
is
right?
just awesome. That's greatness.
As a matter of fact, Olive has a new sister that was born on Tuesday night. So,
Oh,
okay,
well,
good. Congratulations.
so thank you. They live in Dripping Springs, but I want to use Olive. She's just a cute little blonde girl to market the oil, but her mother won't let me. I
we
don't
gotta
want
work
her
on
picture
that.
on social media. No.
We gotta work on that. We'll work on
I'm
that.
gonna break it down. I'll get to her eventually.
Yeah,
so-
I mean,
Right,
look
of
at the girl,
course.
her baby.
Yeah,
It
and,
it's how
but-
cute that would be.
But she's a little cutie. But my grandson works in the business. My son obviously is running the business, and we would like Olive and Tris, my grandson, to be Olive
part of it.
people.
Right. How many kids do you have?
I have two boys.
2 boys.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
So-
Okay. So wait. So we edit. You want to take a break, or you
we
want
can,
to?
yeah, we can take a quick break.
Okay.
I want to, if I may, suggest that if y'all ask Jen, if we can come and take a tour.
Oh yeah, we can do.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Get some B-roll
Yes.
on. and
Would love to
get
do that.
Some footage of your little factory. Is that okay, Jen?
Sure, anytime.
Okay.
I would
So
love
yeah,
that.
we'll get into that. Okay. Is there anything else?
Water, anything?
Yeah. Anything else you want to cover? Is there anything else you think we need to cover? This has been amazing.
I know. I mean,
This has
I'm.
been a really very well-rounded
Oh.
conversation.
a
Here's what I'm
treat.
going to tell you. He will never look at olives the same way,
No.
or olive oil.
I'm gonna inspect it. In fact, I'm gonna go to the cashier when I'm checking out and say, "Hold on a minute, ma'am. This
and if,
isn't."
and
this
if my
isn't-
sister tries
Let
to
me tell
come
you,
with
a little
like
too
bright
black.
green olives, he's
No.
gonna say,
Yep, it was
get
dyed.
it off the
Someone
table."
dyed the olive. It's not right.
You know how you solved that problem? You only use Texas olive branch.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Well, thank you, but they need to expand. And one other thing to think about is how can all those black olives be the same size? and this and with no blemishes or no. How can they be that way?
Right. Okay.
I don't know the answer.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us. Doggone it, I thought you were going to tell us.
No, I don't know the
So
answer.
you know the world's worst is you go to these restaurants and these bars and all they have are canned olives and they taste like canned olives.
Yeah.
And I ask them, do you have Kalamata olives? And some will say they'll know what I'm talking about. Some have no earthly idea.
Right.
Or they'll say, yeah, we've got them, and they bring them to you and they're the sliced black olives. And you're like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I want on my pizza. So, or salad. Okay, so does your olive oil, is it used to put olives in? I mean, hold on. Do you sell a line that has someone else's olives and your olive oil that makes up the product?
No,
Okay.
we don't sell table olives. So that's
But the people that sell the table olives, they're not. I'm sure they buy the olives and then they get a bottle
Yeah.
of olive oil and they add it to it.
Well, the other thing I didn't mention is that you wouldn't put your good olive oil in a jar of olives.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
So
I gotcha.
you would use not an extra virgin olive oil.
Got it. Okay.
You would use once again it's a preservation thing.
Okay.
And it does add some flavor, but you would use a lesser grade olive
Okay.
oil.
So is there a difference? Do you create regular olive oil, virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil? I mean, is that just a different process, or why do people call it that?
Well,
I asked a bunch of stuff.
no,
maybe.
but I'll start with what is extra virgin olive oil, and let's start there, and then we can go down the scale. So, extra virgin olive oil is determined by the acidity and
okay.
the peroxide levels, and to be extra virgin, the acidity level has to be 0.06 in America and 0.08. This is parts per million in Europe.
Okay.
So if it's not, then it's virgin olive oil.
Okay.
And the reason it usually is extra virgin is because of the way it's processed and handled. People take care because they want to make extra virgin olive oil because you can get more money for it.
Okay.
And so, and then if that acidity level and peroxide level is an indication of how old the oil is, so you can actually test for that. But just using the acidity, once it gets too high, then it becomes virgin olive oil.
Okay.
And usually when it gets out of that extra virgin range, it loses its taste profile. So then it doesn't really have a green taste or a olive taste or a earthy taste. It has no taste.
Okay.
And so then there are other grades. There's pumice oil, which is usually used to cook with in restaurants. And so we only sell extra virgin. We do have a kitchen oil, which we sell to the food service people.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
it is virgin oil, but it's high quality and it's a blended oil. There's different oils in there. And so, there's so much fraud in the olive oil industry simply because people don't understand what it should be. Mm-hmm. And but always look for extra virgin. Don't buy it if it says it's from 5 different countries on the back of the label. There's just lots of things that you should keep in mind. So.
Okay. So what comes directly out of the press, if you were standing there with the cup at the end when it's being pressed and it's dripping, is extra virgin. It starts that way.
In most cases,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Cool. Okay. So you have a processing, is it called a processing plant or a factory
a
here?
mill, a frantoio is the actual name.
Frontoio.
Yeah, but
Okay.
but it's a press house. Yes, it's a big barn with the press in it, and
And it's here local.
no, it's down at the ranch.
Okay. What do you have here local? Anything?
We have a bottling facility, which is very cool, and you should come visit.
That
Yes, we
okay,
are.
that's what we need to
Absolutely.
come do.
It's very
All right.
cool. We have a bunch of really nice people that work there, and the nanny that throws away stuff has now become my production manager.
She's the quality control. I like her already.
Yeah, the kid grew up. She's no longer needed there, so she runs.
Right.
But she's a very nice lady, and so she runs the. But we have a full bottling facility. It's all automated, or not all of it, most of it. And then we have a separate warehouse for the skincare.
Okay. Oh, would love the opportunity to come to the
Yes.
bottling.
You have to come and
location.
meet the mad scientists. They're cool.
Yes,
and
of
then
course.
meet the bottling people. That's very nice. But the ranch is so remote, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
If I could have put the orchard in Austin, it would have. I could have had a tourist business.
Right.
But we have no tourists down there. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but here in town, the both of those warehouses are open anytime to anybody.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Field trip.
Absolutely.
I'm in.
I can't wait. I mean, you can tell from our excitement that we just love olives.
I know.
Olive oil. I mean, this was unbelievable.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's just, it's once again, I don't want to give people false hope that it's easy to do.
No,
but,
of course.
But and it's taken us a long time to get where we are. But I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So, and this is a side note, and we can cut this out if it's not relevant. But because you're an ag business, are you subsidized at all with the government, or are there any programs that you can be part of, or because you're not doing 10,000 acres of wheat, you're not? That's not part of it. And I don't know if that makes any sense. My question, but
no, there is no. The olive industry in Texas is it's minute.
okay, right,
And so, the great business is $1 billion business. They get all the subsidies. We
They're
get
right.
virtually. However, we have gotten 2 value-added grants, which are
nice.
were very helpful. The commissioners in both cases were very helpful in getting us these grants, but they're federal grants, they're not state grants.
right, okay,
And we got those. They had to be a value-added grant. In fact, on our webpage, there's a little thing in there that tells about it. But you go out and spend money, and then they give you the money back. So basically, you did it for you get if it cost you zero.
right,
But as far as the industry, there's no assistance.
right, okay,
And that's always been the problem. And then when we get time, maybe we can talk about the future, in my opinion, of the olive industry.
okay.
Texas just doesn't. We don't generate enough income or revenue for the state to be.
Right. Are you exporting
Subsidized.
outside of the
no,
state? No, you're
no,
not. Okay.
no.
Okay. All right. So what's your website? How do people find you?
TexasOliveRanch.com.
Okay.
And it's actually, they've done a very good job with the webpage. It has a lot of information. It has some videos. It's pretty cool. And, we would like to expand, as everybody does nowadays, online and the social, all that stuff is we're really looking forward to that. So,
Well, we're definitely going to tout it out
Oh, yeah.
big time.
Oh,
I mean, This has been
absolutely.
amazing. So, well, go ahead.
Well, no. So you started this adventure in 2005. Where does it go?
No, we started actually with that former bride of mine I was talking about. I called her to get these dates because I couldn't remember. We planted our first orchard in 1994 in Marble Falls, Texas,
Oh my
Wow.
goodness!
on
Okay.
a friend's little farm. And she said, yeah, I'll never forget that. And so she knows all these dates. So 1994, we planted our first orchard
Wow.
in Marble Falls. It died. And like a fool, we planted it again, and it died again. So then in 1997, 98, we moved to where we are now on somebody else's ranch, planted several thousand trees, and it was more of an excuse to go to Mexico and have a steak and cold beer,
There we go. Yep.
because we were close. And then one day there were olives. And I went, oh my God, what are we going to do now? Because we had no press. And then it became a business. So,
Okay.
but our first big harvest was in 05. You're
Okay.
right. Yeah.
So then,
Okay.
you purchased property, or you're still using
No, we bought
someone else's?
property.
You bought property,
we
okay.
bought property and planted in basically 2000, 2002. It took us that long to plant those trees.
Okay, yeah,
And then we had the harvest. The first harvest was in 2005.
okay,
So-
okay. So,
Oh, well, no, hold on.
oh, okay. All
So
right.
what's the future of the company?
Of
or
the olive industry.
olive
No, let's first,
industry?
the future of the olive industry.
Well, the olive industry in Texas is very. I just don't recommend people plant an olive orchard in Texas if they want to make money. I mean, if you want to make the entrance to your ranch pretty with olive trees, that's a different story. But it's back to that infrastructure. There is none except me.
Right.
There were a couple other folks that are no longer in the business. Everybody else is small farmers market kind of stuff. If they're even still around,
Okay.
the international industry is weather related. As I mentioned, Spain has suffered the last 2 years. The price of oil in Spain has doubled in 18 months.
Wow.
It looks like they'll have a good harvest this year. Greece is having problems with weather. Turkey, for some reason, has done well this year. So, if you're going to be in this business, you're basically in an international business.
Okay.
If you want to be supplement your local farm, you have to import.
Okay.
And so then you become, well, you've got to wire money to Spain or somewhere. And it's the only way that you can be in business if you have a bad year. And you have to be very careful about labeling where the oil's from and so forth and so on, which we do. But it's truly an international business. So it's weather related. The last 2 years have been difficult. It looks better than this year and the next year. As far as planting trees in Texas, I just don't recommend it for people. If go grow grapes or
Right.
Right.
go to Las Vegas and throw your money away, but don't. It's
right.
just not. It's such a long-term project to recoup your investment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the situation, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
And remember, I don't know everything about this, but it's my personal opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, just keep doing what we did.
Keep
you
doing
know?
what we do.
I'm happy with what happened. So, just quickly, my father was a mining engineer, and we
Okay.
lived in small mining towns in California, Nevada, in the middle of the desert. And my mother's parents were dairy farmers in Wisconsin. So, somewhere along the line, I got into the farming thing, infected my mind.
In your
or
head.
something.
Right. Right.
And but I people go, well, you had to move every 2 years. What about your friends? And I always thought it was great to move. I never thought that it was a bad thing. So I can't think of what I would change.
Right. Good.
I was very fortunate to grow up with great parents. I have a brother and sister. I got nothing.
Right. Well, and your kids followed in your footsteps, similar
Like
to the
we
way we
did.
followed, in our
Yeah,
father's
yeah.
footsteps.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know about the grandkids yet. You're still waiting to see.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. All right. Do you want to ask about the raising the bar?
So
tidbit in
right. So our podcast is Raising the Bar. So how do you raise the bar professionally or personally?
how do I raise a bar for myself for what we do? Well, I think I just kind of have no patience, which I figured out wasn't really the best way to get things done sometimes. So just to be thorough and be patient. And I figured out a long time ago, I don't know very much. Other people know a whole lot more than I do, and it's best to ask. And it's best to know, ask people, because most everybody wants to help everybody.
Right.
And so I just slow down is mine.
Slow down.
Slow down,
Yeah,
and
no,
it,
that's-
it all works out. Tomorrow's a different day.
Tomorrow's a different day. That's
Yes.
great advice, and a lot of people don't view it that way. You know, they won't ask for the help,
Right.
and they want to think they know everything. And it's
No,
like,
you-
stop, look, and listen.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
really.
keep your mouth shut and listen.
Yeah,
So that's what your mother always told you.
That's
so,
exactly right.
You know, so anyway, I just think that
that's
you have to share what you know, and other people will share what they know with you.
Yep,
And I think that's good.
Super. Okay. All right. Do we want to wind up and do a couple of reels? Is that what the next steps look like?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so wind
All
up.
right. Okay.
Close us out.
Wind up. So, are we still on, or you want to reset?
Well, no,
Oh, no,
let's
not yet.
let's
Let me
close
wind
out
up.
the podcast.
Okay. I forgot. How do I close out? How are we closing
However,
out?
thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, want to thank all of y'all for tuning in. We've had an amazing educational, inspirational, fact finding. We learned everything we needed to learn about olives, olive trees, orchards, bottling. What else?
I mean, all of it.
We covered it all.
We covered it all. So, Jim, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Yep.
And we can't wait to bring all of you along when we take our field trip.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Thanks to our sponsor, the Ashmore Law Firm.
We specialize in probate, estate planning, family law, guardianship, personal injury, and civil litigation.
You can find us at ashmorelaw.com.
Or by calling us at 214-559-7202.
Again, that's ashmorelaw.com.
Or calling 214-559-7202.